Good evening. This meeting is now called to order. This is the Public Safety Committee meeting for Monday, February 13, 2023. I am Councilwoman Yolanda McCoy for the 6th District. At this time, I will call roll for those members of the committee first. Councilman Oliver,
Present.
Councilman Darby, Councilman Johnson.
Here.
I've already been made aware that Councilman Spadola, Mills, and President Congo are unable to attend. Councilwoman Darby, is she on the Zoom? Okay. All right, then we'll go ahead and start this meeting. Okay. We have quite a few items on our agenda. We'd like to start first with a resolution regarding the Wilmington Police Department commencing an academy class. The sponsor is Councilwoman Oliver. If you'd like to speak to this agenda item.
Sure. Thank you, Councilman McCoy. This resolution is about the Wilmington Police Department Commencement Academy class, which is below 95%. So we are below our threshold. It's somewhere between, I think it's 320, 395. So we like a half person below the threshold, which hopefully this summer, for the academy for 2024, it would be filled. And that's what this resolution basically talks about. And maybe someone on the line from the police department to speak in regards to this resolution.
Do we have anyone here from the police department?
Yes, it's Chief Campos. Good afternoon, Chairwoman McCoy and committee members and everyone on the call. This first resolution is to start the police academy class. With retirements and attrition, we now have passed this threshold to start this process. As you are aware, we're authorized strength is 312 officers. Our actual strength at this point is 295, which is one officer below that 95% threshold. At this point, we have worked with the mayor's office and the human resource department. We have also reached out to council staff to let you know that we were in the process of beginning to advertise for these positions. The officers were working on a billboard recently to put out throughout the city. And also our recruitment team is working to recruit for this hiring process, reaching out to faith-based organizations, HSBUs, schools, and as well as job fairs. So I'm looking forward to starting this academy class till we can supplement our ranks.
Okay, thank you so much, Chief Campos. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Is there anyone, any other person from council that'd like to speak or have any statements?
Yeah.
Okay. Councilman Johnson.
Yes, Chairwoman McCoy. You think just in terms of timing, I guess first, Chief Campos, when would you expect to actually begin a class? Would it be this summer?
Yes, sir. We're anticipating starting a class in August with an end date, hopefully in the middle of December of 2023.
Okay. So when I have a second question, Chairwoman.
Yeah, please follow.
So when would you need our resolution to pass council, since it is budget season right now?
As of today, sir.
Okay. I mean, in terms of allotting the funding, is there in a proposed budget that will be coming up fiscal year 2023, 2024, is it already going to be in the budget to have this academy class?
Yes, sir. My understanding is that it is.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Johnson. I just wanted to acknowledge that Councilwoman Harley is on the call. Did Councilwoman Hartley, does she have anything to state? Okay, all right, thank you. I see that our Chief of Staff Washington is on the call as well, on the Zoom. Does she have anything to state to this resolution? Okay, all right. So, we've already asked the questions. If there's anyone from the public, is there anyone on the public that has anything?
What? I'm sorry. I
Okay.
couldn't unmute myself.
Okay. All right, Chief of Staff Washington, you have a
Yeah,
statement?
so the money is in the budget for the class. And so the resolution, just so you know, is, serves as notification for the class beginning. It's a matter of notifying council members that a class will begin.
So, Chief of Staff, Chief
Yeah.
of Staff Washington, so you're stating that the funds are already in fiscal year 2023?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So if there are no more questions, this is a resolution. It does not need to be voted out of council, out of the committee. And it looks like, is this for February 23rd? That'll go to the full council?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, as I stated, this resolution will go to full council on February 23rd. That is our next council meeting. Thank you, and we do have another resolution from Councilwoman Oliver. This is a resolution approving the police department's grant application to the state of Delaware state aid to local law enforcement program to provide advanced and specialized training to officers. Councilwoman Oliver, will you speak to this resolution?
Yes, thank you, Councilman Chair McCoy. This resolution approves Sally for provides advanced and specialized training to officers, such as traffic training, DUI, I would say homicide, sexual assault, etc. So I would say this is a grant, state, and it's, provided by the state, state funding. I would say this is definitely needed. So this is another resolution
Okay.
that I find that would be real helpful, especially in the 3rd District and throughout the city of Wilmington.
All right. Does anyone have anything to state to this resolution? Anyone from the police department?
Yes, Madam Chair. As Councilwoman Oliver stated, this is a grant to help us be able to send officers to specialized training, as she mentioned, homicide training, sexual assault training, traffic fatalities, DUI training, things of that nature that would otherwise be difficult if we didn't have this money. So we're asking for this grant as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. So my question is, for $60,202, how many officers do you expect to be able to send to training?
But that all depends on the class and the training that's available to us. As you know, some trainings cost more than others, and some trainings are a little bit further away than others. So I don't have an exact number to be able to send to give you right now, but it's a substantial amount of money that we'll be able to utilize to be able to send these officers to these trainings, especially with the amount of promotions and transfers that we've had. We've had some new officers move into some specialized divisions, such as detectives, and this will give us the ability to get them trained and up to speed on their new job functions.
Okay. All right, thank you. Did anyone else have a question? Okay, Councilwoman Oliver?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. My question is, when you talk about sending people out of state for training, do you also have trainers come to Wilmington?
Yes, most of the training is local, but sometimes, such as for instance, the traffic fatality training, it's only offered in certain states, so we have to send them away, unfortunately. But we do try to find training that's localized, and also if we can bring training here as well, just as supposedly suppose I have this ICAT training that I'm thinking of bringing in, something that we can send people to be trainers so they can come back and train the rest of the police department. So things like that would benefit us.
Okay, yes, you may follow.
Thank you. My follow-up question is, now, do officers request various training, or do you, inspectors, do y'all pick the ones who need training? I was wondering if it's an officer that, that works in, out on the streets a lot, or maybe traffic, are they allowed to pick to say maybe they want to go to DUI training, or it's based on how y'all pick them yourselves?
Yeah, well, so it's based on need. For instance, we have them write Department of Information reports, and it goes through the chain of command, and then we see if there's a need. If there isn't, then we don't approve it. So it's something that we base on an individual basis. That if it's a need or want, obviously it's always the need comes first. So it's not something that people can just arbitrarily be sent to. It has to be approved through the inspectors and the chief's office.
Thank you. That's all. That'll be all.
Okay. Councilman Johnson, are you good?
I have no questions, Chairwoman. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. I'd like to acknowledge Councilwoman Bracy has joined us. And Councilman Harley, you have a question?
Yes, Madam Chair. My first question is this: is this a grant that we get every year? I know that we typically get these annual grants from the Wilmington Police Department. So that's my first question, and I have a follow-up.
Yes, it is a grant that we bring before you yearly, and also this grant does not require any local matching funds.
That's great, and I do think that it is a good grant. In the spirit of talking about grants real quick, are there any cultural sensitivity training kind of grants that one are being considered by the management, top management, and or I mean, like, I'm not sure how you decide on what grants you apply for, but one dealing with cultural sensitivity and diversity training. Are there grants out there like that you can apply for, Chief?
We'll look into it. I know we have a new person moving into our grants and training, so it's something that we can look into and see if there's some grants out there that are available to us that we can apply for in regarding to culture diversity and sensitivity training.
Awesome. Thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman Harley. Is there anyone from the public that have any comment to this resolution? Okay. All right. Well, this resolution, as Chief Campos did state, it has no matching funds, so that is not required. This grant is for $60,220, and its purpose is to train. I guess we have some people who have elevated or gotten promotions, and they need to be trained for certain other types of things going on within police departments. So this is a resolution. It will be brought to the full council on February 23rd. That's our next council meeting. Because it's a resolution, we do not have to vote it out. Okay. So we have another resolution. The next agenda item is a resolution approving the police department's grant application to the State of Delaware Emergency Illegal Drug Enforcement Program to support drug investigations. Councilman Oliver, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This is also a grant that I think is needed for the state of Delaware, city of Wilmington, a program that supports drug investigations such as fentanyl and any other drug activities. So right now, we do see a major overdose with the opium. I mean, so I guess this is not just with that. It's just for investigating any drug investigations. But when I think of it, I just, just know that is a major problem throughout the state. So another resolution that I think, another grant that is very supportive, should be very supported.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Councilman Oliver. Chief Campos, did you want to speak to this resolution as well?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. These funds will help cover the overtime costs for drug investigations and some anti-violence initiatives that are undertaken by our Drug Organized Crime and Vice Division. When we go to community meetings and we hear the concerns of the residents, if there's issues in certain areas, this will give us the ability to be able to respond with that and pay for some of those initiatives. And this grant does not require any local matching funds as well.
Okay, thank you. Did anyone have any questions to about this resolution? Okay. All right, so my question is, this resolution is for $32,925. This, even though it seems like it's a lot, it's not very much. And wanted to find out, you said this is to help offset fiscal impact when it comes to crime prevention activities. Like how much do you have like a estimate or percentage, how much is needed to do this overtime? Like how much would this cover? Do you have like a percentage?
I don't have a percentage for you, but as you mentioned, it seems like a whole lot of money, but it really isn't.
Right.
This would just offset some of the overtime costs for some of the initiatives that we're able to help the community out when we're going to community meetings and they're giving us some concerns about certain maybe a drug house or some drug activity that's taken place. So at this point, I don't have a percentage on how much it's going to impact, but we'll make sure to divvy the money out accordingly and make sure we take care of this.
All right, thank you so much, Chief Campos. Like I said, the amount seems large, but knowing what we know when it comes to the budget for the police department, I'm like, how much is this going to cover? So this is also a resolution that does not need to be voted out. Does anyone have anything else to say to this resolution? Okay, so this will be coming to the full council on February 23rd. And let me see, I think that will be it. Okay. All right, thank you. Councilwoman Harley, you have something to state?
Yes, Madam Chair. I would like to be added as a co-sponsor to all of the grants. Those funds are needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I know sometimes, we have, not discussion on the floor, but sometimes there are comments made as it relates to us constantly approving and adopting resolutions for grants in these particular areas. And again, they're needed because I feel as though, of course, more funding we get, more training our officers can get, that's great. But I already mentioned about the other topics around grants because there was discussion from a number of council members, I want to say maybe about 6 months ago. So I hope that the council can get a response in terms of their progress around looking into other topics around grants.
Thank you, Councilwoman Harley. I do agree. I've actually had a conversation with someone in communications at Wilmington Police Department and let him know exactly how concerned we were. But I'm feeling, really good that our chief does understand that crime prevention is also dealing with some of the social issues that we're having within the city, and that we will make him aware of some of the different types of grants we would like to see, even though they may be competitive, that we would like to see the city look for. Okay, Councilman Johnson.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
The second council member Harley's sentiments. I think we do have a chance for a fresh start with Chief Campos. This has been something council has brought up year after year after year after year. On the floor, we approve academy classes, we approve grants, and yet there was never any policing alternative grants on the table. So just letting the police department know that if there's not police, if there's not policing alternative grants, we're going to be hard pressed as council is unified in terms of passing any more grants. So I think, again, we have a chance to have a conversation, Chief Campos, but council has asked for this. Chairwoman McCoy, Councilmember Oliver, Council President Congo, and again, your predecessor did not take action on it. So I'm hopeful we have a fresh start and we can take action on some of these policing alternative grants.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Councilman Johnson. All right. Oh,
Have a follow-up.
okay, yes, Councilwoman Oliver?
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate the chief and everyone coming tonight for these resolutions. But if it's possible, y'all can send over your contact information to our chief of staff, Mona, because I know some of you have new telephone numbers and new, since you have different positions, because I tried one of them that's no longer working. So if y'all can send your contact information to Mona, just so I can have it, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. We'll take care of it.
Thank you.
Great, thank you for adding that. Okay, so we do have another resolution. This one actually is a resolution naming the members of the Citizen Complaint Review Board. Now, the sponsor is actually President Congo, but he is not here, but we will be reading that information. Kendra, would you be able to help us with that?
Yes. So I will read the general mission of the board and the names of the members. Whereas the Citizens Complaint Review Board, CCRB, was established as an independent board by substitute number 1 to ordinance number 20034 pursuant Charter Section 8403, and whereas the primary mission of the CCRB and its members is to address and participate in the resolution of complaints filed by citizens against the Wilmington Police Department and/or its officers and members, public complaints against members of the Wilmington Police Department shall be investigated by the CCRB. The legislature intends that the board address the resolution of these complaints to the greatest extent permitted by Title 11, Chapter 92 of the Delaware Code, as it exists or may from time to time be amended by the collective bargaining agreement then in place and by the rules and regulations of the Wilmington Police Department. The names of the members for the CCRB board are as follows: Charles Brittingham, Nudie Felton, Elder Carvella A. Jackson, Keandra McDowell, John Robinson, and Tamara Varela.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Johnson.
I appreciate Council President putting this forward. I want to be added as a co-sponsor, as this is something, frankly, that has been long overdue. This has been ordinance we passed back in the 107 session. We waited for the state to take action on their behalf, and unfortunately, we have to go forward with the work that the board can do. So, these individuals are justice impacted, either on the advocate side or the victim side or the policy side. So I think this is a well-rounded group that, again, can look on how we can make our department better. And, I know that, we're going to talk in the next piece about going forward, but this is not a revolutionary idea. Cities such as Baltimore, Philadelphia, other DC, other cities have had complaint review boards for over 15, 20 years. So this is not, this is not revolutionary. I wish I could say we were sitting here talking about something that we were first in, but we are last in terms of the Northeastern cities that are doing this. So again, this is a step forward. I think we still have some more positions to fill with the board. I think we would still have 2 or 3 vacancies, but I think we can appoint those later. And I'm looking forward to the board doing good work.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson. I do see that Councilwoman Harley.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I do want to echo Councilmember Johnson's sentiments as well as relates to, it sounds like the board has a pretty good composition. of individuals from the community that I believe that would be fair, compassionate, empathetic, etc., as relates to the topic. My question, and maybe I'm asking this too soon, but as far as who's going to chair the committee, in terms of like who would be the leader of the review board, or is that something that will be discussed later? If that's the case, I'm okay waiting until later.
Okay.
Madam Chair, can I answer that, Ms. Marshall?
Yes, please, Marshall.
Yeah, so with that, Councilman Harley, that'll be addressed in the amendment that Councilman Johnson will be addressing next.
Oh, okay, great. And I would like to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you, Marshall.
Thank you. Councilman Oliver.
Yes, I too would like to be added as a co-sponsor, and I echo the sentiments of my council members. This has been lingering since 107, and as Councilman Johnson said, other states are doing it. So I figure it's time we just do it and move on, and that's all it is. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I wasn't able to see who came up first, but Chief of Staff Washington.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Hi. Yes, I just want to state for the record, I believe that the recommendations are to be forwarded to the mayor for his review. The last conversation I had, we were only aware of 2 individuals, so the additional names are coming as a surprise. And I believe it's recommended to the mayor, but the mayor has some voice in who's actually serving in that capacity. So I just wanted to state that for the record.
Thank you. Was there another council person that had their hand up?
I'm Bracy.
Okay, Councilman Bracy, you had a question or statement?
Yes, thank you. I think Chief of Staff Washington just answered part of one of my questions. And forgive me, because I'm still learning all of this, but my questions were, how were these people selected? Also, do they all live in the city? And then lastly, will there be someone on this committee that actually has a legal background, an attorney, something like to that, that actually can, look at this from, the standpoint of how this, affects the law? Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman Bracy. Councilman Johnson?
I believe that in the next wave of appointments, this is just the initial batch. There is, I believe, possible conversation about ways we can get someone with more of a legal background from the community.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Bracy. Thank you, Councilman Johnson. Is there any other questions? Okay, Marshall, please give us some information.
Yes, and if I may too, and to address Councilwoman Bracy's other questions, they will also be addressed within the next piece of legislation that Johnson is speaking to, which is going to be the amendment that talks about, the composition as well. I just want to make sure that's noted for the record.
Thank you. And I'm sorry if I'm asking something that I should know already. I'm still learning.
Thank you very much, Marshall. And we understand, Councilman Bracy, this actually is amended and it's kind of like hot off the press, so you'll get a chance to take a look at it. All right. If there isn't anyone else questions or anyone from the public that want to comment or speak.
Madam Chairwoman, I just wanted to note that the names will be organized by organizations in a future amendment of this resolution.
Okay. Was everyone able to hear that? Yeah, I know. Kendra, you sounded a little loud.
The names will be organized by organization in a future amendment of the resolution.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that information. All right, so if there's no other questions or no other comments, this is a resolution, and it will go before full council on February 23rd. It will leave committee, go before full council, okay? All right, now the resolution, I'm sorry, the ordinance that we were talking about that Marshall's brought up a few times. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilman Harley.
Oh, yes, real quick, Madam Chair, is this resolution a companion to this ordinance that we're getting ready to go over now? Are they associated?
Yes, I would say that they are.
Okay, all right.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so the ordinance is a substitute one to ordinance 21-054, an ordinance to amend chapter 2, article 3, division 18, which is the Citizen Complaint Review
I'm
Board.
sorry, I can't hear. WIT, I can hear now, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, I can start again.
Okay.
The next item on the agenda is substitute one. to-
I
We
still
cannot hear
can't hear.
Councilwoman McCoy is muted. WITN, can you check because she's muted?
Councilwoman McCoy, we can hear you just fine. I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay, so it's still technical difficulties because we can't hear from the committee room.
Yeah,
The
so,
committee room is muted.
okay, well, we actually are, we can hear the microphone and everything is fine with WITN. We don't know whether or not that may be on your end.
Hold on 1 minute, Councilwoman McCoy. We're gonna just put technical difficulties until we hear from WITN. Just give us 1 minute, please.
Give us one moment. We're gonna come in and check.
Okay, thank you.
Just bear with us for 1 minute. WITN is working on the technical difficulties because we still can't hear from the committee room.
Okay. So he did this to get this thing. Okay.
Can everyone hear now? Can
Councilwoman
everyone
Mo-
hear?
Yes,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right, so we, if we can just give a minute for Councilman Johnson. He just stepped away for just one moment. Yep. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. We're going to get started back again. Okay, so as I stated, we have another item on the agenda. It is substitute one to ordinance 21-054, an ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 18, the Citizen Complaint Review Board of the City Code, and the sponsor is Councilman Johnson. Councilman Johnson, if you'd like to speak to your item.
Yes, I appreciate the floor, Chairwoman. This is a best practices amendment. This is, again, as we talked about earlier this evening, the Citizen Complaint Review Board was initially passed in 2020. This ordinance was drafted upon the recommendation of Nicole, which is the National Law Enforcement Oversight Board that we've been consulting with. The city has a consulting agreement. We've been working with them since last year. They reviewed our policies and procedures, and they're going to be the ones actually doing the training for the board. And these tweaks were recommended by the board, by the group Nicole, as best practices to, again, the focus is in improving community trust and public trust in law enforcement. And so these changes will help with the enhancement of that. What we'll do, we expanded the board slightly in terms of numbers. Also, the retired police officers will still be a part of the board, although they will be non-voting members. And I believe, we also took city council members off the board as well. As a best practice, Nicole thought council members should be out of the process. And, we should not be voting members as well. So these changes were made upon the recommendation of Nicole. And again, they'll be working with the city to help implement these goals. And part of just, if I may, Chairwoman, part of, I think the consternation, the concern has been about what the board is doing, right? And the interaction with Leo Board, the interaction with the state constitution and laws. And rest assured, everyone who has concerns about what the board is doing just have to look at the original ordinance, section 2-150.81, subsection B. If you look at the powers to investigate and report, that there is obviously the one purpose is, of course, investigate citizen complaints. That is, we all agree, that is hamstrung by the current state laws because of the lack of state action on this. But that's okay. If you look down, we also have one task of the board is investigating and making recommendations regarding undesirable general practices and patterns of behavior involving the interaction of the police department with the public at large, public safety concerns, failures of communication with the public, or any other area regarding police practices and policy and community relations. That is what the board is going to be tasked with from day one, because we are limited by our state law. We have draconian state laws that don't allow this board to fully operate, but that's okay. The public education portion is what the board is going to be funded in part of this practice. There was an article in the News Journal this morning about the lack of transparency with our police department. And I'm rest assured, I know Chief Campos is going to be working on this, and I know he will, but this has been a problem in the past, and we can't sugarcoat that issue with communication to the public. I mean, we had I guess it was an assault that was not reported. It happened last fall, and we didn't even know about it until recently. That's unacceptable. No department in this city should be doing that. So I think we look at first what the board is going to be tasked with. It's going to be public education. If you go down to subsection F, public education, the board shall inform the public about the board and its duties and should develop and administer an ongoing program for the education in our public. That is the key. We have to educate our public about our police department, and we expect full cooperation of the police department. This isn't about hiring and firing officers. This board, even if the state law was changed, right now, this board is not tasked with doing that. This board is about informing a better police department that's responsive to our community and responds to the complaints that we get from the east side to the west side to the north side, everywhere in the city. This is what's necessary. So I know there's been concerns about what the board would be doing initially, but rest assure you, we're going to have an active board. And in fact, we have a budget right now so the board can do its work in public education. And that's the key. So, we understand there's concerns. We've addressed those concerns. I've personally spoken with FOP1, the lodge. I've spoken with individuals from the police department. In fact, when this was first initiated, I spoke with Captain Campos when he was in capacity as a captain. So there's been a lot of work on this. And unfortunately, our brethren with the state are unwilling or refuse to take action. We can't hold up the city. And until that happens, we got to move forward with what we can do in terms of the public education piece. So I just want that to be known, and I look forward to this getting passed and the board getting appointed, and we get started on our work.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilman Johnson. I see that Councilman Harley has something to add.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. In agreement with Councilmember Johnson, I want to say that I think we are going into the right direction, especially when we look at the climate of what's happening throughout the country. It's almost like a repeat of when we first decided to put this review board together. But what I want to point out is the one thing that he said, I feel as though is key, is that we want the public to know that, you know, we support transparency. As he said, this is not about bashing the police officers. It's not about throwing anybody under the bus. I think it's all about transparency. It's about the community feeling as though they have a voice. And, you know, there's so many topics and concerns that can come up that may not have anything to do with actually going into the records of a police officer. So my thing is this, is that, you know, as an example, even though what you call, like, as far as education, sometimes you hear conversations about how the scores are low, the classrooms are not good, and there's a number of things that can be said about our educational system, but you don't keep your child from going to school. You still allow them to go to school to learn what they can and work on the areas that need to be fixed and work on what needs to be improved. There can be both happening simultaneously. So I'm in support of it for that reason. We can move forward supporting the community, the public, with other maybe situations that may come up, like I said, that may not be as deep or as comprehensive as, you know, getting into the personals of a police officer. So it's just not one-sided. I guess that's the other point that I want to make, and want to be clear that it's about transparency and it's about the community having a voice. And I think that's the right direction we should be going in, and just do our part and do the best that we can. And when it gets to where we have gone as far as we can go, then, you know, let the chips fall where they may. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Harley. Did anyone else have anything to say? All right, Councilman Oliver.
Yes, I too echo the sentiments of my my colleagues, and I guess we are considered senior legislators, Councilman McCoy, and all of us that's on this call. And I have to say that Councilman Chris Johnson and myself, Harley, all four of us have put a lot into working with Chris with this review board, and I'm just glad to see that it's moving forward. And I see some of the names on that will be participating, and as Councilman Chris has stated, Johnson, this is not this is Wilmington's first rodeo, but this review board is carried out throughout the country. So we are way behind, and as everyone has stated, this is not to beat up on the police. Just not to be redundant, it's just a lot going on with the police throughout the United States, and it's just a review board. I like Section F, they shall review and complete the investigations on pending case and ask questions and policies recommendations to the board as a whole. So you have a variety of people going to be on the board. No one's here beating up on the police. These are all mature, talented people. As Councilman Johnson stated, the president and Chris are also working on having an attorney on there. So I just think it's overdue. And I just say, let's just we're moving the city forward, and let's just move this forward and be done with it. This is like a redundant conversation at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Oliver. Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Chairwoman. And again, I go back to, I guess it was May of 2020. Our country was going through a lot, and there were protesters on the bridge over 95. There were literally Market Street was almost burnt down, and we have to go back to that point. And still, as a society, at the local, state, and federal level, we have not succeeded. Right now in Congress, there's the George Floyd Justice Act that's been stalled in Congress. Let's look at the state level. There's been recommendations, senators who've been working on bills. For some reason, they keep getting held up. And so in the city level, we got to take action where we can. And that's the thing, is promises made and promises kept. And the reason I do this is because I care about the community and making change. And we all committed. We signed along with the administration to make these changes. We did body cameras, right? We did that. We also said we're going to work on more transparent police officers. That's what the protesters were told in rooms. And then now here we are 3 years later and still no progress. So we have to look at the scorecard, because the community is going to hold us accountable. Did we say what we're going to do at the time of 2020, at campaign time, on campaign flyers? All of us who talk about police reform, did we step up and do what we were supposed to do? And I'm saying we have not. We've been pushing, but we have not finished a deal. And I'm about sealing the deal, moving forward. And yes, I get that the state is still sitting in their hands, but we got to put pressure on them, 100% full court press, that they really hear their constituents, because this change is going to happen whether they like it or not. So I think we need to continue. We all, that's the one thing about us who are unified on council, we all support law enforcement, supports police academy, we support the grants, we support strengthening that. But we by supporting law enforcement, we also have to support the community, because public safety equals a lot of different things. And so we support our men and women in blue, but we support the community too. So we can't forget that on council. And so we are moving full force with this and forward, and we hope to work with the administration on rounding out the rest of, I think we have, I guess, 6 more members to appoint. I think we'll find, again, nice quality members. 2 of those members will be retired police officers, which I know is a concern for law enforcement. And let's get this board started. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson. I do see your hand up, Councilman Harley, but I just wanted to state something. First, I just want to make certain that I'm added to this ordinance as a co-sponsor. And I would like to basically say thank you to Councilman Johnson, because he is correct. And one of the things that happened in 2020 is that we made these promises and we told the public, we hear you and we would like to do something different. And then, here we are at 2023, and things may have gotten lighter for a little bit, but now we're actually back looking down the barrel of this thing again. And if I can't do anything, I need to remind you that commitment means staying loyal to what you said you were going to do long after the mood you set it in has left you. And we need to make certain that we stay committed. So I definitely would like to see this move forward. As I already asked, that be added as a co-sponsor. And then also I would like to thank Councilman Johnson for making certain that we included, the 2 former police officers, because this is about balance. We do support our law enforcement. We want to make certain that they know we are not here to railroad. We just want to make certain that we got the cream of the crop, that everyone is doing what they said what they pledged that they would do once they left the academy. So that's basically it. Councilman Harley, did you have something to add? I saw her hand up.
Yes, the 2 of you pretty much wrapped everything up, and everything was really on point. The only thing that I wanted to add, I do want to be a co-sponsor, and we definitely want to, like Council Member McCoy said, we want to do what we said we were going to do. We started in 2020. We really passed some really good legislation, the chokeholds, and there was a number of pieces of legislation. And I do think that this is the piece where the community will feel as though we really mean business, because they have been talking about it in the community. And even as you mentioned, Madam Chair, this is really all about transparency. It's about us working together, not one group against another group, and most certainly not against our police officers. We respect our police officers and the work that they're doing. We really, really do. We just want to make sure that the community has a voice and is able to get some questions that they have answered. And I do think that we will have the right mix on the board to make sure it's balanced, that it's managed, that it will be a professional group from the community. And there's nothing to really fear as it relates to what this review board is about. It's just about transparency and us wanting to move our city forward, and the community to have a feeling of like we do support. We support the community and have some trust in our government, have some trust in what we're all trying to do together. And so that's why I think it's like really, really important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Harley. Councilman, okay.
I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. I didn't say, I'm sorry.
Did you, were you able to hear that, Kendra? Okay, thank you. All right, so, this is an ordinance. I'm sorry, before I go moving it, was there anyone in the public that wanted to speak to this? Did anyone else have any comment to state? Okay.
Yes. FOP Lodge 1.
Okay. All right.
Could you speak up? I can't hear you at all.
Sorry, FOP Lodge 1 has a hand raised.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
All right. Please. Sorry.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I've been president of this labor organization for 16 months now. And to my knowledge, there's nobody on this public safety committee that has had any conversations with myself or any other executive board members about the community review board and the makeup of it and what powers they're going to have. So I want to correct the record on that because I believe it was stated there have been conversations with the FOP, not Lodge 1 at least, maybe other lodges. Also, based on the few names I heard on the community review board, I'd be willing to have a sit down, more conversations regarding this. I'm at 300 North Walnut Street. You all know where to find me. And all I'll say is it won't be just Lodge 1. It'll be the State Lodge 2 in Dover. We're going to come out full force against this, just based on those names I heard. And that's all I got for tonight. I'm more than willing to sit down and have further conversations. So let me know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else in the public that wanted to speak?
No hands raised.
Okay, thank you. Did you have something to
Yeah.
say? All right, Councilman Johnson?
Oh, was there somebody else? It sounded like there was somebody else.
No.
Oh,
Okay. So again, I appreciate the FOP chiming in. Again, I'm about accuracy, and there was, I believe, probably prior to the current president coming in, there may have been some miscommunication, but there were meetings. In fact, God rest her soul, in 2020 when this was initially being started, there was a Zoom, and I can find a specific date for you if you ask, but it was a Zoom between me and Councilmember Walsh, actually, because Councilmember Walsh brought it to my attention that we need to talk to the FOP, and they were involved. And so, there was meetings initially when the first original ordinance was proposed. And again, I believe there may have been a different executive board, so that's fine. We can have those conversations again. In terms of step two, the state FOP definitely is aware of this, because we even had in 2021, I believe it was fall of 2021, when Senator Lockman was doing roundtables throughout the state. I was a panelist, and they've been engaged with Senator Lockman and engaged with me on this. So the FOP is aware of the state efforts and the local efforts. And actually, I think the state FOP may have been on the meeting with me and Councilmember Walsh as well. So again, this isn't new, fresh. I certainly definitely agree and open to discuss the names and the further names to be appointed. But the FOP, I'm certainly here to discuss this matter with you, as I did with your predecessors. And, I think we can make this right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson.
Councilwoman Harley has a hand raised.
Okay, Councilman Harley, do you have something to add?
Oh, yes. The gentleman from the FOP one. I have one quick question, and I know this is going to be a much bigger conversation, but if you did not have any concerns about any of the names that you heard, do you have any concerns? Let's say all the names or names that you felt were the right names outside of the names. Would you have any other concerns?
Pardon me, Councilwoman Harley. So, the FOP person was actually on Zoom. He is offline. He was a public commenter. So he would not be able to answer your question. That question is just posed to the committee.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but that is
Okay.
that
Thank
is a
you.
conversation.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, not a problem. That is a conversation that that question could be asked when that conversation does arise. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so is there anyone else that had any other questions or comments about the ordinance? Okay, that's it? All right. Okay, so this is an ordinance, and it does need to leave committee. Let me make sure I got everything correctly. All right, so this is an ordinance, does need to leave committee. If I can get someone to move substitute 1, ordinance 21-054, an ordinance to amend chapter 2, article 3, division 18 of the city code.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, can I hereby signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Oh,
Any opposed? Okay. So the ayes have it. So this is actually, we have, and I am voting aye as well. Okay, so the motion has been carried. This will be, I'm assuming this will be on February 23rd's agenda. Okay, so it has been moved, and it will go on to the council floor on February 23rd.
Somebody needs to move that off the screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I do look forward to hearing conversations about that. So we do have one more thing on the agenda. It is a presentation on call for service assessment by the Law Enforcement Action Partnership. Are they here to do their presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, we are.
all right. Now, this is Leap. Okay, Leap. I do recall you being here not too long ago. I look forward, I guess, to this next presentation.
Yes, Councilperson Darby asked us to come back to kind of refresh the committee's memory on what LEAP is proposing.
Okay, well, so would this be not just your full program, but this particular responder program?
Yes, the community responder model,
Okay, all right.
and I'll allow Mike to speak more onto that.
Okay, thank you. You can continue.
May I ask a question
Ah.
before we get started?
Okay, I'm sorry. Councilman Oliver would like to ask a question?
Did he say state his name? I didn't.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, he did not, but I had asked the question. He didn't get a chance to yet.
I'm sorry.
All right,
Okay.
so.
I wanted to.
I apologize. My name is Lionel King. I'm from the Law Enforcement Action Partnership. I'm here with my colleague, Mike Hilliard. He's also from the Law Enforcement Partnership.
Thank you, Mr. King. I just wanted to ask a quick question before you got started. Where are y'all located?
Well, LEAP is a virtual organization, and currently I'm located in Johannesburg, South Africa. I'm from New Orleans. I'm here on doing research at the university, and Mike is in Baltimore. But we have colleagues all over the United States.
So, if you, as a follow-up,
Yes, please.
where are your colleagues located in Wilmington, Delaware, or Newcastle County? That's my question.
Well, we don't have any colleagues that are living in Wilmington, Delaware.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind, you can go ahead and start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman, Madam Chair, am I allowed to share my screen?
Yes.
No, WITN will have your presentation.
Oh, WITN doesn't have the presentation?
They do.
Oh, they do. WITN will be
Okay, well, if
assisting.
they could put it up, please.
Yes,
Councilwoman Fields joined the call.
okay. All right, I would like to acknowledge Councilman Fields for joining the Zoom.
Can we go back to the first slide? One more. Back one more.
That's as far back as we have.
Oh,
There you go.
There it is
That's
right there.
it. Okay. So my name's Mike Hilliard. Again, with me is my colleague, Lionel. Remember, Lionel King is a staff member of the Law Enforcement Action Partnership, and I'm a member. I'm a retired major from the Baltimore Police Department. I served the city of Baltimore for 27 years. And I spent a considerable amount of time in patrol and also as the executive officer to the chief of patrol. My last position with the department before I retired, I was in charge of Baltimore City's 911 and police dispatch. Next slide, please. Back a little bit. Should be the LEAP introduction slide. There we go. LEAP is a nonprofit, no. There we go. LEAP is a nonprofit advocacy organization with a cadre of over 250 law enforcement officers, judges, and prosecutors that travel throughout the country advocating for intelligent criminal justice reform. Most germane, excuse me, can we stay on that first slide, please? That other slide? Slide 2. Are we on that?
Well,
Yeah, I believe,
My screen is,
wait, I'm sorry,
I'm on
I'm sorry,
part
Mr.
slide.
Hilliard, just one moment. I think there's a little bit of technical difficulty.
Yeah, we haven't moved it, so I'm not sure what we can.
Okay, yeah, so, Mr. Hilliard, I'm not certain whether or not you're receiving it on your end of technical difficulty, but the slide is pretty much the same in front of us. We are looking at who is LEAP.
okay, fine.
Okay,
It
Madam-
just, the way it's showing up on my screen, it's like, I see half the slide and then it flips. LEAP has been at the forefront of intelligent criminal justice reform for 20 years. One of our major focuses is restoring trust between the police and the community because, as you know, law enforcement can't be as effective if people won't talk to the police. Another focus is dealing with the fact that the police are asked to wear 40 different hats. And every year that put another one, and every year we put another one on the police's head. We want to identify the issues that don't need to be on the police's shoulders so that police can focus on public safety priorities. As many of you know, police departments are already overwhelmed with short staffs and expanded responsibilities. We see community responder programs as a way of relieving some of the pressure on police and allowing them to focus on more serious crime issues. Next slide, please. LEPA's worked with cities across the country to implement community responder programs. These programs involve sending well-trained, unarmed civilians to handle low-level calls for service, including many mental health and behavioral calls for service, other calls such as wellness and safety checks, unwanted persons, civil matters, escorts, loud music, and trespassing. There are three characteristics of the community responder programs. One, the community responders act as a true first responder and don't just show up after the police have cleared a scene. Two, the public can reach community responders by calling 911. They don't have to call a hard to remember 10-digit number. Community responders teams do not include police. If the team has an officer, we call it a co-responder team. This diagram shows how calls are divided between police and community responders. Traditionally, when someone calls 911, if it isn't a fire or medical emergency, a dispatcher sends police to the scene, and police handle the incident. However, in the community responder sequence, the calls are triaged by the call taker based on call type and other information. If the call does not meet community responder eligibility, the traditional model is followed and the police are dispatched. If the call is community responder eligible, the call is dispatched to the community responders. Next slide, please. So here are a few cities with community responder programs. Many other cities have some form of expanded response, while many others are currently developing programs. It is important to note that Cahoots in Eugene, Oregon, has been in service for over 30 years and inspired many of the models. In fact, a police officer left Eugene, became chief in Olympia, Washington. He was so impressed with Cahoots' program that he started the crew team in Olympia. This shows police have supported the idea of a community response since the inception of the idea. Next slide, please. While LEAP has not reviewed any calls for service from Wilmington, we have reviewed calls from other cities in order to give a range of example pure results from cities with ranging from around 20,000 to 750,000 residents. These numbers show the ranking of how common these call types are in several cities we've worked in. For example, check the well-being is the second most common reason people call 911 and get a response in Evanston, Illinois. It is the fourth in Amherst, Massachusetts, the third in Dayton, Ohio, the first in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. Every community is different, and looking at the call data allows us to see why the public is requesting assistance and where that would be appropriate for community responders. Currently, Wilmington and Newcastle County already has the Mobile Crisis Intervention Program, which provides 24-hour emergency and in-person services as needed for mental health crises, which might include depression, suicide, or substance abuse. These services are accessed through a hotline. Like many other cities, we believe that Wilmington has crisis intervention team officers or CIT officers. These officers are specially trained to respond to mental health crisis calls. Unfortunately, under the current system, the mobile crisis team and CIT officers are not the same as community responders. Firstly, community responders handle a wider range of low-level calls, far beyond mental health calls. Secondly, the mobile crisis team is not accessed through 911. Finally, sending a CIT trained officer to a mental health call is still taking a police officer away from high priority calls. Next slide, please. LEAP provides experts advice to assist cities as they explore, conceptualize, and implement community responder programs. In phase one, the needs assessment, LEAP conducts qualitative and quantitative examinations of 911 call narrative data to determine which call type and the percentage of calls would likely be eligible for community responders. This two-pronged approach starts with identifying eligible calls based on the call narrative and not just the categorized description of the calls. The call narratives are the notes taken by the 911 call taker when a call for service is received. The narratives contain more detailed information regarding the circumstances surrounding the call for service. Based on information recorded by the 911 call taker in the call narrative, calls for services are categorized into types. Call types are the way dispatch codes 911 calls. These categories are often broad and often don't capture the essence of the call for service. For example, LEAP analyzed calls for service in Atlanta.
Pardon me.
Many of the calls were.
Mr. Hilliard, we're down. Yeah, you already got into 10 minutes. I just wanted to know if we can get into phase two, because we've actually heard this before, and I just wanted to make certain everyone gets a chance to ask questions.
So in phase two, LEAP's worked with community members and stakeholders to help them make informed decisions about program design. LEAP will be provided detailed information by meeting agendas to cover topics such as call types, 911 dispatch process, hours, budget, referral service, and timeline. Also, LEAP will engage police and dispatch to ensure that their voices are heard throughout the entire process. LEAP will address the concerns of safety from the perspective of the police and our members who are attorneys, and they will be available to address concerns over liability from a legal perspective. Based on that community-led process, LEAP produces an in-depth, detailed, bespoke preliminary report that outlines the structure of the program, including the number of responders, type of responders, and responder qualification, types of training, possible training organization, hours of operation, types of calls that responders would handle, budget, and program placement. This report becomes a blueprint for implementation. In Amherst, the program manager of the CREST program called the preliminary report for Amherst his Bible as it relates to the program. Once the city is committed to implementing a community responder model and hired a program manager in phase three, LEAP continues to provide and guide advice and guidance to assist the program manager in understanding the recommendations all the way through program launch. LEAP, in slide 7, LEAP will work with community stakeholders,
Mr. Hilliard,
including, I can finish if you want me to stop, Madam Chair.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. What it is that we've actually, I've actually heard about this presentation before, and one of our council members had a question.
Yes, Major. Again, I appreciate you and Mr. King taking part in our meeting. I think the reason why the chairwoman kind of wants to expedite, because I think we've already shared with majority of council members. I believe we're already sold on this programming and that it needs to come to Wilmington. I just think it's about cost and how we can get this going. So my first question is phase one. Is it true that there that Wilmington is a recipient of a grant in order for us to have the cost of phase one covered?
It's not a grant. We have donors to our organization who are very interested in community responder programs. So yes, it is true that it would be of no cost to the city of Wilmington for phase one, and but it's not a grant. It's just LEAP will cover the cost.
Okay. And approximately, I'm gonna put some timelines on things because I'm the chair of the Budget Finance Committee, so I just want some numbers that'll be helpful. So phase one, how long would you say it would take to do analysis for phase one?
It really depends on how long it takes to get the 911 call data. I would say between 3 and 5 months from beginning to end as it relates to examining the 911 call data, meeting with stakeholders, conducting the analysis, as well as writing the report.
Okay, and then I guess that would bleed into phase two, correct? Essentially designing the program, right?
Yes, so we have set the scope as it relates to phase one. We have not set a scope as it relates to phase two. And so I just want to be clear, the LEAP will cover the cost of phase one of the scope.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, Councilman Johnson. Yes, you may follow.
Yes, Chairwoman. And then again, we can talk more offline, but if there was, say, a city of Wilmington size, I know you don't have our call data, if we wanted to put in a placeholder for a pilot program for the community responders, do you know approximately, based on the work you do nationally, how many dollars are we talking about? Are we talking about $250,000, $500,000 to actually do a pilot community responder program?
Well, I would not venture to give a number right now. I think it's most important to look at the call data to see the number of calls that would be eligible for community responders. Then we can determine the number of responders that would be needed, their hours, the amount of time the responders should be available. So I would not venture to even estimate a number now.
Okay.
All right. Actually, Mr. King, Mr. King, I'm sorry, I had a question. So,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Mr. Hilliard, so the slide that says where it's already been done, okay, where it's done already. These, what is this? 12 cities that has been listed here. Was this program done by LEAP? Or are you just showing that someone else is actually taking up the,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, that's fine. I just wanted to know whether or not someone else already taken up the mantle and went ahead and did some type of community call, or is this all done by LEAP already?
No, those are not all done by LEAP, but LEAP has worked with Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Atlanta, Georgia, Dayton, Ohio, Amherst, Massachusetts, Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, and Mike I know we've also evaluated the call data for places like New Orleans, as well as Tucson, Arizona, I believe it's called, and about 8 other cities.
Okay. And I'm sorry, and of those 8 cities, which ones moved forward with this from step 1 to step 2?
So we know for sure Brooklyn Center, we worked with them in step 2. Dayton, Ohio, we moved them from conceptualization to implementation. Amherst moved from conceptualization to implementation, and they're all up running now. Currently, we just completed our work with, or I'm going to say we didn't complete. We just completed our report for Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we are working with the Community Intervention Task Force as it relates to next steps.
Okay. I think there may be something going on with your Zoom.
Yeah, I see it. I see it.
All right. So that's all of the questions I had. Was there any other questions or comments for this about the presentation?
I have no further questions.
Councilman Johnson, I understand your concerns and questions. The problem is when you talk to implementation, it's really individual to each city. And it's difficult, even if, for example, as Lionel said, we've stood programs up in Amherst and Dayton. and they may be equivalent size to Wilmington, but a lot of it depends on the type of calls for service you're getting, the narratives involved, and the times you actually need community responders available for calls and the number of them you need. So it kind of, the cost analysis kind of hinges on what comes out of phase one.
Okay, and just a quick follow-up, and I noticed the type of calls, Major, with like, again, because for clarification, Newcastle County does not provide mental health services in the city of Wilmington. It's actually, Wilmington does not have a mental health specific program. So would it include calls for, say, sex workers, sex trafficking? Would those calls be included in the kind of calls that a community responder will come to? Because we have quite a
Absolutely.
bit. We have quite a bit in Wilmington, specifically on the west side. You know, Councilmember McCoy in my districts are unfortunately throwaways for sex trafficking.
Absolutely, because as I'm sure as you found out, this is really not a problem the police can address. They can arrest these sex workers and end up taking them to court, but what really needs to happen is most of them are doing it to supply their addictive behavior, which is normally caused by some type of trauma they had early on in their life or sometime in their life. So candidly, what needs to happen is someone like a community responder needs to start to try to intervene with sex workers so that they can be diverted to treatment to treat their addiction, which is really what's driving the behavior in the first place.
Okay, thank you very much, Major, because I know, you know, again, I have, in my district, you know, you see them on the major avenues. They're zombies, you know, because they're drug induced. I've seen them firsthand, you know, the sex workers, and at that time I wish I could do something, and I've even personally talked to them, and it's just, you know, it's unfortunate. I'm not a trained worker. I don't know how to get them the services they need. So we definitely are looking for that kind of programming here.
Okay. All right, so I do thank you very much for the presentation that you presented, Mr. Hilliard and Mr. King. You know, LEAP has actually given us this information previously, and I think that council needs to really, I guess, consider what our next step is going to be when it comes to this call. I'm sorry, what is it called again? It is the call for service assessment. So I thank you, and I do thank Councilwoman Darby in her absence for inviting you back.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you guys very much for having us here.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I said, well, I don't have anything else on the agenda this evening. I thank everyone for participating, and for all those in favor, I really would like to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Well, I guess it's just gonna be seconded by me. I said, this moved and seconded. And I say good night, and thank you very much for my very first meeting as the chair of public safety.
Very well.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. You have a great evening.